Wrath of the Titans, huh? Well, Wrath of the Titans is actually kind of a short film that surprises me. It's directed by Jonathan Liebesman, like I said. Stars Sam Worthington, Liam Neeson, and Rosamund Pike, as well as Ray Fiennes. Alright, so Wrath of the Titans takes place 10 years after Clash of the Titans. Perseus has a son named Helios. I think of a kind of a dumb name, considering that if you all you do is say Helios, then you got a god's name, so change one friggin' vowel. Anyways, they killed off Io, and I pointed this out in my little review on Flickster. Does anyone remember Clash of the Titans? What little you remember? Because I remember Clash of the Titans too. And Io died in Clash of the Titans. She was killed off. I assume reason being is because Gemma Arterton probably didn't want to be a part of it, or they didn't offer enough money. One of the two. Who at this point it's really not a relevant point. I don't know what. It's probably a good thing they killed her off in the respect that I don't know what would have happened with her character, considering she probably would have just been sitting back and doing a whole lot of nothing. So Perseus is taken on because Io's dying wish apparently was that Perseus, um, raises Helios without the knowledge of wielding a sword, and is educated, and just knows a hard day's work, that whole deal. And we get shown that too. We get shown that they're fishermen, have a nice little quaint home. Helios is wants to, it's clear that he wants to follow in his father's footsteps, because Perseus, he's a guy who defeated the Kraken, which really means you saved the world. And shortly thereafter, Zeus ends up visiting Perseus, and he's like, "Hey, we got called to the underworld by Hades. I would like you to join." Perseus is like, no, I'm gonna stay." That actually works out in Perseus's favor, because Zeus ends up going to the underworld, meets up with Poseidon and Ares, and you find out that it's a trap. Sorry, I had to quote that. And we find out that Hades had made a deal with Kronos, one of the original four Titans, that if they release Kronos, that Kronos would give Hades his immortality, because, as was brought up in the Clash of Titans, is that people didn't pray to the gods as much as they used to, which didn't really seem that obvious to me. In my opinion, people still feared the gods, so I don't. They must have really, like, one person dropped off and like, "Oh no, people aren't praying to us. We're gonna die." It just honestly, it didn't make that much sense to me. And like, people are like, "Oh, we better pray to Ares." You find out that Ares ended up betraying Zeus, and mostly because of the Zeus apparently has more of a rapport with Perseus than Ares. Ares feels a little betrayed, ends up betraying Zeus in return. So Zeus's life force is being drained, and now it's a race against the clock to save Zeus. Essentially, that's the main focus of the plot. Is Perseus is now trying to save Zeus before it's too late. That's the major plot, and also trying to stop Kronos. That's also the other part. So I guess I'll after Zeus got captured, you move on to Perseus, who shortly after Zeus got captured, a chimera ended up popping up, destroying the kind of the village that he was living in. And Perseus ends up, after killing the chimera, he makes a journey and meets up with Andromeda. Hold on one second. I want to take a look and see if she actually played Andromeda in Clash of Titans, because I do not recall her doing so. In the first film, it was the role of Andromeda was played by Alexa Davalos, she was in the Chronicles of Riddick. Apparently, she hasn't done any films since Clash of Titans either. Interesting. Well, anyways, so Perseus ends up meeting up with Andromeda. Because shortly after Perseus ended up fighting with the Chimera, Poseidon. They go to the temple to pray to the gods. Poseidon ends up popping up, and without ruining anything, Poseidon tells him, "You gotta find my son, my illegitimate son. He will take you to the fallen one." He was like, "Okay." So that's the reason why he meets up with Andromeda again, and they make a journey with uh, with Poseidon's son Agenor, who is once again a demigod just like Perseus. Uh, Agenor is played by Toby Kebbell, and I could be saying the name wrong, but I recognize him from a couple films, most notably one of the films being Rock and Rolla. But of course, most people haven't seen that film. I think he's only been in one other major film other than that, and I don't feel like clicking it at the moment. So they make their way to this, the Lost Island or something like that. End up taking out some Cyclopses, which was an interesting fight scene. And they meet up with Hephaestus, played by the great Bill Nighy. This leads them to have to Hephaestus, after they try and persuade him a little bit. Perseus, Agenor, and Andromeda, and Hephaestus make way to the, I don't think it was called the Labyrinth, sorry, but something along those lines. Just a very huge maze, a moving maze that, for all intents and purposes, you're going to get lost. And I'm going to stop there because we're reaching kind of the halfway point, if not a little bit further, and I don't want to go too much further into it. So I'm going to make a couple mentions here that I think the acting's pretty decent, especially from Liam Neeson and Ray Fiennes playing Zeus and Hades, if only for the very end. And this is actually probably my favorite scene, or very favorite part of the movie, is that Zeus and Hades end up taking on Kronos, and they end up kind of using their powers to try and fight him, which I thought was so cool. Because Zeus was kind of like a pseudo-villain in the first movie, so to see him kind of play more of the father character and Ares playing more of the villain along with Kronos, that was kind of cool. So yeah, definitely 2 thumbs up for Liam Neeson and Ray Fiennes playing, their characters very well. And it's not to say Sam Worthington or anyone else played the roles poorly. I actually kind of like the fact that Perseus was like, kind of the reluctant hero who has aged 10 years, so he's not exactly the young guy he was in the first film. And you kind of see signs of that in the film. And of course, all he wants to do is just, let his son have, kind of a nice and happy life. And of course, like I said, Rosamund Pike didn't play Andromeda in the first film, and I knew that Andromeda was in because she was kind of the bait because, like I said, in the first film, her mom's like, just kind of pissed off the gods a little bit. Alright, so I guess I should mention the 3D before I forget. The 3D conversion, not nearly as terrible as Clash of the Titans was. I think, kind of funny is that the Clash of the Titans movie actually set a precedent for what not to do with a 3D film. The 3D was atrocious in Clash of Titans. Not to say the 3D was much better in this film, but I did take off the glasses because I like to do that from time to time to see if I could watch the film without the 3D glasses. And the film was considerably blurry without the glasses. You could still watch it, but I think you would consider yourself cross-eyed by the end of it. And there were stuff were flying at you, and there was one in particular that pointed out, and I point this out in particular because I'm pretty sure it changed from wide to flat or whatnot, because when Perseus is taking on the Chimera, the snake that's on, because it's 2 like lion heads and then a snake for a tail, and the snake is biting at Perseus, and they make a point to have the snake pop out at you, which is definitely the most effective use of 3D I've seen in a while. But I'm pretty sure it changed the perspective or the aspect ratio of the film when they showed that one particular 3D part. I didn't notice that for anything else, but I just thought I'd point that out for anyone who's going to watch it. Soundtrack I think is a little bit better. Definitely, there were a couple songs that were actually quite memorable in my opinion. I don't know who did the score, and I'm not going to look right now. Let's see here. Don't know if there's much else to cover. Covered my favorite scenes. So, all right, so I'm going to say this before I give the score, is that I definitely overrated Clash of the Titans when it came out. I gave it a 3.5, I think. And if I were to, and me and Chris have done this occasionally before, is kind of recall our score and give it a new one. If I were to do so, and I would give Clash of Titans, the 2010 version, a 2 out of 5. This movie I would give out a 3 out of 5. It's definitely not bad. I think it made minor improvements from the first movie to the second. minor improvements that made it a bearable and, for the most part, an entertaining film. I didn't regret watching it. Would I watch it again? I would be more inclined. Here's the thing that I point out with Clash of the Titans is that I gave it a 3.5 because I think I really wanted to like that movie, and I gave it a good score because I wanted to give it that score, not because it deserved it. This movie deserves a 3 out of 5. It's definitely pretty good, and I don't think I'm overrating it because I can't watch Clash of the Titans. It's a bad film. So yeah, that is it for Wrath of the Titans then.